Boom, we're live. This is Tio and the Arcane Bear. We've got a wonderful guest for you today. We have the CEO of ETHOS. This is Shingo Lavine. Shingo, how are you doing today? This is Tio and
I'm great, thank you. How about you?
Oh, it's a beautiful day. I'm just going to make sure I'm pausing myself in the background there. A little bit of a bumpy start to this, but thank you for bearing with us. Right from the get-go, I guess, for those that don't know, do you want to lead us into what the Ethos project is and what you guys hope to accomplish, just in like a short, broad view?
Sure. Well, so this project really started with my kind of frustration in the crypto space, and my aunt really wanted to buy crypto, and it was really difficult for her to do that, and she didn't understand kind of how the existing players worked, and everything was really kind of developer centric, and just the way that the space was structured is hard for even smart and driven individuals to understand how to operate in this space. And it was really because of this that I realized that there needed to be a really easy, safe, and trusted way for people to buy and trade and interact with cryptocurrencies. And when we look at the crypto world, you know, we think that there's a lot of big problems that Ethos can solve, from accessibility, storage, fees, credible data, in our traditional financial experience. And sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
and regulatory compliance. And so that really goes into our mission of building a financial ecosystem that is open, safe, and fair for everybody. And we think that we can make this happen and make cryptocurrency and really traditional financial assets available to everybody.
Yeah, it's definitely not on the top of most people's lists to understand, I think, some of the underlying depths, but it's important, especially at the birth of this place. So you guys have a new wallet that's coming out. So can you tell us a little bit about some of the specific problems that you guys hope to overcome and what you've achieved already?
Sure. And actually, just today, the wallet should be live everywhere around the world. So
oh, wow.
yeah, so the Android wallet is live. We're waiting on Apple approval right now. But this wallet in particular, really, we're trying to make crypto more useful and more and easier to interact with. So you know, kind of when you think about your cryptos today, you kind of store them in certain places which aren't often accessible, or it's hard to spend your cryptocurrencies. It's hard to trade and to buy and sell. And we're trying to make crypto just another asset class that can interact with the kind of traditional financial system. And the wallet is the first step in doing that. It's the first step in kind of making this really self-secured vault where you own your keys. Your keys are never transmitted over the internet, and you're the sole custodian of your funds. And that concept is a really powerful concept, because then it allows you to build a financial and crypto system that really hasn't existed before. And it's really counter to what a lot of kind of the centralized peers that we see in the space doing. And so that's really core to our ethos, and really core to what we want to do. And we think that self-secured, self-custodied system will bring a lot of benefits to both individuals in the form of control, and institutions in the form of de-risked structure, and a kind of better kind of financial architecture. Oh, I think you're muted right now.
Thank you. So with the launch of your guys' wallet today on the Android application and on the computer, what type of tokens can you already accept into the wallet? Or is it just Ethos tokens?
So the wallet is right now Bitcoin, Ethereum, and ERC20. But what we did when we were building this wallet is we built an abstraction layer around the kind of blockchains, and so I'm sure many people are familiar with the kind of blockchain space, and many of these blockchains are very similar to one another. And what we can do is, if you can abstract certain pieces of it, then you can build kind of a generalized system for interacting with all these cryptocurrencies. And that's what we've done, is we built that abstraction layer. We proved it out for Bitcoin and Ethereum. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be rapidly expanding new coins. And actually, just the other day, I was working on on some of the coin integrations. And so that's at the top of our list in terms of what we are doing. And so we want to make this wallet the most universal wallet that, that's kind of one-stop shop for everything that you need in the crypto space.
Nice. Ambitious and lofty goals. I always like hearing that. So here's actually one of the questions from the Bear family members. They're regarding this one-click diversification, which you just brought up. What will the preset allocation, or will there be any preset allocation arrays based on algorithms, or are there options for Ethos users to create and sell these successful algorithms to other users? And there's also an addendum to that question that says, will there be options to choose for risk level, low, medium, high, etc.?
Yes. So part of what we did with the with Fusion, the registered investment advisor, that's regulated in the U.S. Fusion builds model portfolios for users to diversify against. So what users will be able to do is they will be able to we'll take in information about a user's financial profile, and then we will determine kind of a risk level, and that risk level is also toggleable, but we suggest a risk level which then builds a model portfolio for this individual that allows them to diversify across traditional crypto assets. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to make a more kind of a better and more responsible self-directed kind of investing scheme. And so what this system will do is it will offer kind of 3 core features. The first being banking with our banking partner, and so offering traditional banking services like debit cards and checking accounts and kind of fiat and peer-to-peer fiat payments, and then brokerage. So that's kind of the self-directed crypto that everybody talks about, and this is kind of done in a regulatory compliant fashion, and to kind of really high regulatory standards. And wealth management, which is what people have been calling kind of one-click. So the one-click diversification is the wealth management portion provided through the investment advisory services of Fusion. And so this will allow users to diversify and build these kind of model portfolios based on the risk profile.
Well, it sounds like a very complex wallet that you guys are building. Are there options for, say, like the beginner, the intermediate, and the advanced user to click on buttons to have different skins? Because I can imagine that a large part of this too is banking, or Facebook for the average grandparent didn't catch on until it became really almost redundantly simple to figure out what you're doing. Do you guys have future roadmaps for skin overlays or different like different user interfaces?
Yeah, so I think the best way that we sort of think about this is kind of stepping someone through kind of the crypto journey that many people take. So, if you think back to the kind of the first time you started interacting with crypto, or even myself, it was usually either someone telling you about it or someone kind of sending you a little bit of crypto, and then you started researching, what is this Bitcoin thing that I have on my phone now, and then you start to kind of go through your crypto journey into eventually becoming kind of a crypto nerd. And what we want to do is we want to kind of formalize that and take people through that journey. So I think the first thing that people want to do is they'll either kind of create a watchfolio, which is basically a way for you to watch and track different digital assets, and we provide as many as we can in there, as many that we can get kind of data feeds on, and then we provide that to the user along with kind of technical analysis tools that can be toggled on and off. And then we have the smart wallet, which is a self-custodized personal vault where you create a smart key, a 24-word phrase that then kind of secures all of your wallets, and you'll be able to interact with all these different cryptos, and you'll be able to accept the cryptos. And what we're doing is we have an airdrop program where we have taken a bunch of promising projects together into this airdrop program, and we're going to be distributing their tokens to the users of the wallet. So users of the wallet will be able to open up their smart wallets, and once we kind of execute all these airdrops, they'll be able to they'll get that experience of getting a little bit of crypto, and they'll start tracking it, they'll start researching it, and then eventually when we start offering these kind of regulated services, when we start offering banking in parallel with kind of the brokerage and the wealth management, people will be kind of familiar with the crypto space already, and they will be able to they'll be able to interact with these cryptos in a kind of secure ecosystem. And as we offer more and more services, it will sort of take you through that journey.
And so just to clarify for everyone, is the ETHOS token an ERC20 token?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay, so you can store it in. You could technically store the ETHOS token in an offline hardware wallet as well. Just for anyone that was interested in that thought. My next question here is about, seeing as you guys have went live today, which is congratulations on that. What were some of the obstacles that you had reached, for whether it was regulation or legal or banking, and how did you guys overcome those obstacles?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge for us was building a decentralized architecture at scale, and allowing people to really safe keep their own digital assets. So you can sort of think of this like a decentralized Coinbase, and nobody's really taken this approach before. And whenever you take kind of a new path, that always that always poses a lot of challenges, and a lot of both technical challenges and kind of regulatory challenges, and you have to get people familiar with the model, and you have to get institutions and consumers familiar with what you're actually doing. And we had the challenge of building this simultaneously across Android and iOS, and building a scale microservices based architecture. And we're using really modern technologies to build this, with Dockers and Kubernetes and GraphQL, used by the likes of Facebook, Uber, and Netflix. And this is all on top of this kind of blockchain abstraction layer of the various blockchains, which are not always thoroughly documented and tested. What we found was actually in some of these open source libraries like Bitcore, Bitcoin.js, that there are actually issues in those underlying libraries, and issues in the likes of Insight. And even though we were at the cusp of kind of a crypto revolution, the developers are still kind of working very hard to get the technology to where everybody wants crypto to go. And it's really awesome to be kind of a part of that, and part of kind of pushing that technical ball forward. But it's just kind of a lot of moving parts that we had to put together and solidify into this wallet. And now that we have that really firm base, we're really confident in being able to build all these kind of regulated and sophisticated kind of crypto-based services on top of it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, in any business, for any entrepreneur or any person that's working a job, there's a lot of failure to finding success. So it's nice to see that you guys are already up and running with that. That's great. So here's another question from one of the Bear families. Is that they say, regarding tokenized funds in these ICO or potential maybe even IPO applications, with the connection between the Fusion Financial, do you see them as a fiduciary advisory? Like, will you guys be facilitating token sales or potential future IPOs as well in the regular fiat space?
Yes. So this is very kind of once we build all this architecture, that's sort of the direction we want to go. But ETHOS partnered with Fusion, and Fusion has a lot of the kind of shared ownership and the shared team structure, because Fusion is a fiduciary. So Fusion is someone who is legally obligated to look out for the best interests of the client, and we think that that's a fundamentally different approach to financial services than many traditional financial services providers today offer, and also kind of different in the crypto space. So that means when you're executing an order, everything has to be transparent, and the fiduciary has to abide by what's called best execution, where you actually have to legally be able to prove that you're offering the best execution to the client. And so what this kind of fiduciary structure means is that we're going to be offering really consumer-centric services. And when you talk about kind of these IPO applications, the role that an investment advisor can take in the traditional financial space is very broad, and it's very and that's sort of why we chose to go down the investment advisor route, because the investment advisor can offer kind of can offer services to individuals that can start to unlock traditional kind of accredited only financial services, sort of, that you can think of as kind of the 1% financial services that very few people have access to. And you can begin to package up individuals in order to offer these accredited services to everybody. So you can imagine people who, from, not a wealthy financial background, getting access to really advanced financial services, which I think is a great equalization factor towards building kind of a more open and safe financial ecosystem.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of it has to do with general education too. I think the average person still doesn't realize that the printing of a dollar is in itself an inflationary event, and that getting away from a naturally inflating currency is really to get away from almost a direct theft of your purchasing power. So you're right. A lot of the financial information just isn't available to the general public. Do you guys have any future roadmaps to potentially creating your own blockchain to operate on top of, or will you continue to operate on the ERC20, or are you looking at other blockchains potentially as well?
So right now we don't have any plans to migrate, although it has been something on our minds. But that being said, we're very confident in Ethereum as a technology, and we made that choice very consciously. And there's a reason why a lot of people have made the choice for Ethereum, and that's because in my mind, Ethereum has already won the smart contracts race. Ethereum has 5,000 times more developers than any other blockchain out there. It has more transactions processed than every other blockchain combined. There's a lot of really good things going for Ethereum, and I think that the scalability approaches that Ethereum is taking are very much in the right direction, and will be able to scale to millions of users around the world, which is why we chose that technology platform. And the token, you can think of it sort of like, so if Ether is the token that powers these kind of core protocol services, Ethos is kind of the engine and the token is the gas for the engine to power these financial services. So Ethos is integrated into this financial services ecosystem, providing access to different to these kind of different protocols that connect in. So you can use these tokens to, for example, kind of verify a legitimate address, and to kind of help connect people from who solving the problem of sending to the wrong address, or ensuring the validity of an address. You can do that through kind of securing tokens and pointing to those. You can also kind of power this the kind of this microservices architecture, and power these protocols, and what we're calling bedrock, and make these blockchain protocols as accessible as internet protocols, all through kind of prorated access of the token. So there's a lot of benefits that I think building on Ethereum gives us, that we want to leverage, and then kind of leverage those similar kind of structures that Ethereum uses in order for our own kind of protocols.
Yeah, I actually heavily agree with you on the thought of Ethereum kind of already winning the race. I mean, there's room for competition. I mean, just like in the world of cars, you have many different companies that make very specific cars, are almost all identical in their mechanical structure, but it's really about the stylization of the brand, I think, that really changes people's opinion. So Ethereum, I agree with you, is going to be one of the forefronts. So sticking with a company that has legs is important. So is there any of the information that with partnerships that you've built in the banking or the fiat gateway arena that you're able to disclose at this time?
So we have actually signed deals with a lot of the partners that we need to put this fiat gateway together, and so we're going to be kind of announcing those as we kind of formulate all the communication officially around that. But the fusion was the first big step, and I hope people recognize that we're building a unique regulatory, legal, and consumer facing structure that's really nobody's pioneered before. And so part of why we need to take our time in doing that is because there's nobody else that we can look to in order to see a model that's been proven out. We're not going for an MSB based model. We're not going for a kind of broker-dealer based model. We're going for a fundamentally different model and approach that I think is going to benefit consumers a lot more. So when you think about kind of these kind of regulatory challenges and how Ethos is kind of trying to future proof a lot of that. We want to, by letting people secure their own assets, we're essentially letting them be their own bank, connected to kind of traditional banking services. And this is a unique strategy that benefits both the consumer and the businesses. Because for the consumers, their funds can't be frozen. They have complete control over their funds, and it makes the transactions borderless and secured. But then we're also having a lot of conversations with kind of businesses and financial institutions on the other end, which like broker dealers or custodians, wealth managers, clearing houses, the intermediaries that power the existing financial system. This approach is really a game changer for the liquidity and counterparty risk and kind of regulatory compliance for them, because they don't want to keep the assets on their books, so they don't want to shoulder the risk, the volatility risk of an asset, while at the same time the consumer who's buying this asset wants to shoulder that volatility risk. That's the whole point of them buying that asset. So you can solve a lot of things by weaving the right regulatory model, and you can bring a lot of institutions into the fold, and we already have, and we're very excited to kind of finish building out this compliant and regulatory future-proof model.
Nice. I think you kind of covered my next question there, but are there any other partnerships besides the banking and the institutional investors that you guys are looking to build? Like, what's your marketing strategy for reaching these different demographics and niches? So for me, I've been in marketing and advertising my whole life. And I always like Red Bull as an example, because here you have a company that revenues billions of dollars every year, and they spend around 80% of that just on advertising and marketing, because attention is so important. So I guess kind of run us through your game plan here for marketing and advertising to these broadly different niches.
Sure, and I think there's kind of two different questions in there, which is one kind of how are we bringing institutions into the fold, and how are we marketing basically to them, and how are we kind of building that relationship, and then how to the consumer, how are we going to be kind of reaching the end consumer. And so I can start kind of with the institutionals. It's been actually a very profound experience, because we always knew that we were going to get a lot of attention from institutions and get a lot of interest from them by de-risking the model, but we actually underestimated how much these institutions would be really interested in this space. And we have kind of more relationships than we're almost able to handle. But that's why we've been rapidly expanding the team in order to handle all these incoming opportunities. But on the kind of institutional side, it all kind of boils down to the self-custodied vault and connecting that self-custodied vault to all these different services. So right now, you either kind of have you have sort of a hosted wallet by a centralized entity, or you have a cold storage wallet, which is really difficult to interact with anything. But what we're doing is we're trying to build that middle ground where you own your own keys. But at the same time, you can connect it to all these services. You can connect it to kind of a payments provider that we built a relationship with. You can connect it to broker dealers and clearing houses, both of which we have a relationship with, or your banking services, or kind of investment advisory, and the investment advisory kind of wrapping around all of this. And this self-custody vault really de-risks the model. So when you de-risk the model, the institutions really like to come in, because then all of a sudden, if you're a bank, or if you're a broker dealer, or if you're a regulated entity who wants to get into the crypto space, you can't get in bed with any of these other any of our peers, because they haven't de-risked the model. They'll have to go towards someone who understands what the risks are, what all the different risk factors that these institutions are facing, and how to address all of them. And the self-custody model does just that. And then on the consumer side, what we're trying to do is we're trying to build, again, that consumer journey and that robust set of services. So we want to take users intelligently through that journey. And what I think what you'll find is that if you can kind of formalize that journey, and if you can And if you can offer kind of a really robust and useful set of services that nobody else can provide, then all of a sudden, then you'll find yourself with a lot of interest from consumers, especially as you're pushing them through the institutional channels. So what we're doing with these institutions is we're going to be pushing the product and everything through these institutional channels in order to better reach kind of the existing non-crypto facing customer base. Because if you look at the demographics in the US, basically it's about 8% own crypto, but then another 8% intend to buy crypto. And the reason those other 8% haven't bought crypto yet is because they don't trust anybody in the system. They think Bitcoin's a scam, or they think it's just too hard to use. So by de-risking the model for the institutions, you de-risk the model for the consumer, and you bring in a lot of new customers.
So yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I think having that broad perspective is important because, like you said, we're dealing with from the average individual who still, who may not even still understand how money itself works, which is, I think, a large part of the paramount problem, and why blockchain is such almost like a godsend, because it solves those problems. You don't even need to know what they are, but also, like you're saying, that the institutional investor is looking most commonly for something that is stability, right? The reason why they would invest in the S&P 500 on average is because you can expect 2 to 3% returns consistently, instead of these wildly volatile swings in the market. So I guess kind of the next questions are a bit more about where the token is at. So I just jumped on CoinMarketCap here, and you guys are sitting around $1. How many? You've got 222 million tokens in your supply. They're all pre-mined. What type of allocation currently exists for the token?
Sure. What kind of? Well, so in the initial sale, we sold 30% of the tokens, and that was to kind of, we wanted to have a fair distribution, and also we didn't want to have we didn't want to do a massive token sale. We didn't want to be like those other the other entities who are raising hundreds of millions of dollars and not really need that. And so we did that, and a large portion of those tokens are also reserved for the liquidity network, so providing liquidity as we build these institutional connections. And then the remaining is really as incentivization for kind of people working on this project and kind of building out this ecosystem.
Nice. That very easy. And whereabouts can people trade the ETHOS token currently? What exchanges are you guys listed on?
I think you can go to CoinMarketCap and you can look at our token and you can see all the exchanges that are listed there. I know a lot of the volume is kind of usually centered around Binance and BitHum, so those are kind of the two major places. But we only pursue relationships with kind of trusted counterparties, and reputable ones, and so it's a very kind of conscious effort that we take to only work with reputable people and reputable organizations in the space. So that's something we pride ourselves on. It's something that we'll continue to do.
Nice, great. So I have there's just a few more questions here. Is there anything else you'd like to? Well, first off, is there anything that you'd like to let everyone know about? Maybe the next steps in your roadmap potentially.
Sure. I mean, I think people will see a lot of what we're doing unfold over the next year or so, and I think people have seen pieces of our vision. They've seen kind of the universal wallet. They've seen Fusion, but what we're going to be doing over the next year is connecting all these different pieces together, and we basically already have connected all the pieces that we need to make this thing happen. And I think it's going to be very exciting as people see what we're actually doing and what we're all about and the kinds of services that we're providing, because I think a lot of people are no you know, they can't really blame them, but they're comparing us to the existing players in this space. They're comparing us to the likes of Coinbase or Binance or, you know, all these other players, when in reality we don't compete with Binance. We're not structuring something like Coinbase. We're offering a fundamentally different service, and a service that is really cognizant of the existing financial system and the way that a regulatory compliant and robust financial services platform needs to operate. And so kind of in the near term, we're going to be at the Digital Currency Con in Utah, which is very exciting, and we'll hopefully have some stuff to talk about there as well. And you'll start to see all these different pieces that we put together already come together.
Nice. Yeah, it looks like you guys have made some great progress so far. I think you're well on your way. Is there? I know everyone can find you at ethos.io. That's ETHOS.io. There's also all of your guys' Telegram channel links there. So if you're interested to learn more, I'm sure you can jump online and check out the Telegram channel. If you like this content, remember to give us those thumbs up. If you guys have any comments as well, please leave those down below. I will try to answer them the best I can or forward the information to Shingo here. There's one last kind of question here that's one of the random ones before I kind of lead us out. Someone from the Bear family asks, if crypto is music, which band or composer would you consider Ethos?
I would say probably the Beatles. You
Nice.
know, the Beatles started off as really kind of underground thing, and they started off with very humble beginnings, but they grew into an international phenomena and into a household name and made a lot of great music, and they were judged on, you know, the great music that they made rather than kind of anything else about them.
Nice. A great answer. Shingo, it's been a pleasure to chat with you. Just to let everyone know, because we do have to do this, this is in no way, shape, or form investment advice. This is strictly an education and entertainment platform where we can provide questions and answers with people that are working on these projects. So do keep that in mind. Again, give us those thumbs up. Check out ethos.io. Leave your comments down below. Subscribe if you're new to the Bear family. Shingo, it's been a pleasure to chat with you today. Hopefully we can catch up with you again in the future as you start to roll out more of these applications. We'd love to have you back as well. It's been a pleasure to chat with you.
Thank you so much, and it was a pleasure to talk here too.
Thanks. And then maybe we'll catch you at one of these conferences.
Yep. Yeah, look forward to seeing you guys there.
Thank you. Ciao.